kids used to play outside. Outside is the part like this on the other side of the walls of your house. There's this green, it's called grass, and there's and you would like actually see people face to face.
I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is the Call Your Dad podcast.
Welcome back to the Call Your Dad podcast. I'm Shawn. This is my daughter Cassandra, and today we're going to be talking about the difference in attitudes between Generation X, in which I am firmly planted, and millennials/Gen Z, as they were shaped by the context and the times in which we were living. And so for a quick Wikipedia level parameter, Gen X is people born between 65 and 80. Millennials are 81 to 96. And then Gen Z were those born after 1997. And so a quick, perhaps, preamble is that because of the speed and the rate of change in this more modern society, the difference in people born even 10 years apart can make for very, very different, lifestyles at different stages. Like, take the extreme opposite example. Whether you were born in 1560 or 1590, your life was probably much like the people who had been living for hundreds of years before you. Whereas now, the difference between being born in, say, 2000 versus 2010 is going to make for a different experience, coming up. So I'm right in the middle of Gen X. Cassandra, you are at the later end of...
No, I was born in 94, so...
Yeah, so you're like a younger millennial. If you were born a couple years later, you'd be like an elder Gen Z. So you're on that cusp. And then the last thing I would throw out before we get into the conversation is that it's easy for anybody in their generation to poke fun at those before and after. The greatest generation, those that were born and grew up in the Depression, fought World War II, well, within that generation were deadbeats, murderers, arsonists, right? And then within Generation Z, it's easy for people that are older to like point out like these obvious macro trends. But within Generation Z are astrophysicists and neuroscientists and just, wonderful people. So I don't want anybody to think that because I'm Gen X, I think nothing but horrible things about those before and after, and vice versa. Just like I know that my generation has plenty of people that have been dragging us down. So I don't want anybody to get bent out of shape as we're making some broad, high-level, observations about the differences. But I do think that there are. There's certainly some differences. And so you kind of knowing a little bit about what it was like for me growing up, what are some contrasts between things that you would have experienced in your formative years as like a kid, teen, things like that?
So I think that, like you said, I'm a younger millennial, elder Gen Z. So I lived in a time where I feel like there was a lot of change, especially around technology. So now, here today, everything comes to my, everything's so fast. I have fast access to the internet. Which someone like Gran, who's 86 years old, she did not have that. Like, we have to help her, The only reason she has a phone is to be able to, we can go pick her up and she can come do the things. But there was a time when I did have to be patient. So my kids they didn't have dial-up internet. But I did, But you didn't even have internet as a kid. So
we had channel 3, 11, and 32.
Yeah. So one thing that sticks out to me the most is definitely like the technology. So I remember getting home from school and downloading LimeWire on your all's computer without asking, which I think caused a bunch of viruses. And if you don't know what LimeWire is, be grateful. If you're around my age, you definitely remember what LimeWire was. And it's that app, where you search the songs that you heard and you burn them onto a CD, and it took a couple hours, but until you had to wait. If you wanted to ride around your car with that CD, because we had CD players, you're waiting, taking your time. And then Netflix. Netflix is pure streaming.
Yeah.
I remember we were doing some cleaning, I think, over in your all's basement, like getting rid of like old DVDs.
Yeah.
And there was a DVD with a Netflix sticker on it.
Yeah.
And a Redbox one. And the kids were like, what are these? Like, what is this Netflix package?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, back in my day, you had to mail. You had to submit your request for, a disc.
Yeah.
And then Netflix would mail you. You have to wait for it for a couple of days. Then you'd send it back to get the next one. And then, so.
Well, I mean, and we.
Which
we have so quick. Yeah. Well, we've so quickly acclimated to the world as it is that we have to remind ourselves that 20 years ago, which in the arc of human history is a blink.
Oh, yeah.
20 years ago, you would drive to Blockbuster and hope that one of the 4 copies they had of that movie was on the shelf. And if you were rich, you had a combo VHS DVD player. And so if the DVD wasn't there, you could always go with a VHS. Like, that was 2005. Like, that wasn't the 1920s, right?
That's like very nostalgic. I mean,
so like the idea though of, you mentioned like the word patience, even waiting 2 days to get your Netflix DVD in the mail required some amount of delayed gratification. Mm-hmm. And so, now, it's a boom, Amazon Prime, it's on the doorstep maybe today. Or if I want to watch something right now, I just stream it. If I wanted something when I was a kid, you would put your $3.95 in a self-addressed stamp envelope, and 6 to 8 weeks later, your poster of Daisy Duke would show up, right? Like you had to wait. And, when I was a kid, if you missed it, you missed it. And so the most horrible thing possibly that happens to a young child is like walking into school and the other kids in second grade are talking about watching the Charlie Brown Halloween special last night. Like, no, that was last night. No, I got to wait 364 days. Where now, kids are like, well, I've got Disney Plus, I've got Nicktoons, I've got, 40 different streaming services, and I want it right now, and I get it right now. And
which has created some monsters.
Yes. So
myself included.
We have habituated ourselves to the instant gratification.
Yeah, we need it now.
Yeah, obviously, in some measure, like to our detriment. And so it doesn't mean that me growing up in a previous era cannot get a bit, bent out of shape over like having to wait on anything. But I do wonder if like my neuroanatomical wiring was like built in a time when you just had to wait. And so I think that one difference perhaps on a macro level between boomers and Xers versus millennials and Gen Zs is we have adopted the instant economy, but we were born into a much more delayed, type of lifestyle. So I think that at our core, we tend to be a little more patient, which is why you've never heard a Generation Xer probably say, I've been working here for almost 3 weeks. Like, why haven't I been promoted? Like, that's something. Yeah. That's just not something that we would ever think to say, right? Whereas I think that does happen, maybe with some younger people.
Yeah. No, for sure. I feel like whenever you were talking about missing the Charlie Brown special, didn't you miss something when you were a kid?
Oh my gosh!
I feel like okay. I was like, it was either you or Maria.
No, this was horrible.
Like one of you all missed a show.
I did, and So one night a week, the Dukes of Hazzard and the Incredible Hulk would come on back to back, like from 7 to 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And so I'm out in the street playing wiffle ball with about 10 other kids because for people that are younger, kids used to play outside. Outside is the part like this on the other side of the walls of your house. There's this green, it's called grass, and there's and you would like actually see people face to face. So we would be playing outside, and we're playing wiffle ball. And I knew that it was getting towards the magical hour of Dukes and Hulk. So I tell my mom, like, hey, whatever you do, make sure that you come get me at 7 o'clock, yell for me to come inside. Well, it's summertime, and so the sun doesn't go down to like 9:30, So I'm out there playing and playing and playing and playing and playing. And then I decided, well, it's probably about 7. So I come inside, and I remember looking at the analog clock on our stove in the kitchen, and it said like 8:23. And it hit me like, oh, no. Because again, I can't, I didn't DVR it and I couldn't go back and like, that. Well, let me just pull it up here on the streaming service. I started to throw a massive fit. And part of that was because I was just like a really not well-behaved young man. So I'm throwing a massive, massive fit. And eventually, like, grandma gives me a spanking, and like, grandpa gives me a spanking. Well, I get so mad. I'm still so full of rage that I tell them, I'm going to call the cops for child abuse. And my mom's like, really? And so she hands me the one phone, like another difference between you guys and us. Like there's one phone in the house, like it's in the kitchen in a common area. And this is before 911. So you would have like all the numbers to like poison control, the fire department, the police, like on a little sticker by the phone. So all my mom, grandma hears is Shawn Dolly, 1373. I give the address. And then she was like, I just want to report child abuse. About the time she rips the phone out of my hand, and then all I hear is, hello? No, everything's fine. He was just being a brat. Yeah, we gave him a couple spankings. No, it's fine. No, thanks. And then hangs up. Well, about 15 minutes later, a marked police cruiser shows up in the driveway. And I'm thinking, this is the police that I've called. Well, 2 weeks prior, my dad had placed an ad in the newspaper selling these beagles, like hunting beagles. And the guy that came over just happened to be a cop, just happened to be in his car. I don't know any of this. Yeah. So then, grandpa intercepts him and, tells him what's going on. So then the guy comes in and basically, the police officer is like threatening me for like making like a false report. And he's like going to take me to jail and all that. Or it's like either you're going or your mom's going. Like, who do you want to go? I'm like, oh. And I'm still being like a punk about it. But as it relates to the difference between X and millennial, you had to synchronize the entire society like around these cultural touch points. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the country is going to watch the same show at the same time and then come in the next day and talk about it. Like, oh my gosh, who shot JR? Like there was these things that everybody would know, whereas now media is so segmented and everything is so on demand that everything is asynchronous. Like nobody is.
Yeah, we're not all talking about the same thing.
Other than like certain things that are really just commanding like the attention. But now people are like, well, if you want to watch this, you got to have Paramount. If you want to watch this, you got to have Peacock. If you want to watch this, you got to have Hulu. And I think it's kind of ironic that people cut the cord on cable. Like, I'm not going to pay $180, a month for all these channels. It's like, well, but I need this streaming service, this streaming service. No. So it's like, somebody's going to say, hey, what if we had like one thing you paid and you got all these channels? Like, you mean like cable?
Yeah, Dish TV.
Yeah. So we were paid. We had to learn patience as a kid.
And we were just ready for it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, something else that, I think there's a difference in, and we'll just touch on this really quick, but there is definitely a difference in like generations. I feel like the good times and going out and partying. Something I was thinking about the other day is, again, I was in that weird transitional period. Yeah. But like, I look back on times, I'm like, how did I not die? I was just like out in a field drinking Burnett's vodka, and then now you have kids these days, they're high noons. Yeah. Or their weed pens.
Or their weed vape pens between second and third period in seventh grade.
Yes. Yeah,
this is great.
And so
this isn't going to have any long-term societal consequences.
And like for you all had what, like two types of beer? Bud Light and Budweiser.
Yeah. So like when you're watching a movie or a TV show where they don't want to like do branding, guy walks in like, hey, give me a beer. Like that didn't seem odd, to us. Like you mean there's more than one? You didn't have quite the selection.
Yeah.
And I say that as an American. We're kind of lucky. We just grow accustomed that if I want candy, I can go into Kroger and there's 1,000 options.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 options of candy. Whereas like you go into like a former like Soviet socialist republic, country, and you go to the store, if there is any candy, you're going to see like a brown paper box that says chocolate.
Yeah.
Like this is it. You know what I mean? So some of this is also contextual. It's not just the times that we lived in, but the country in which we've been blessed to live, where we have all this, options. And, America has bequeathed to the world like, the internet and Amazon Prime, everything else, right? So, but you're talking though about when you all would get together. Like for us, You would go to the playground, you would go to the shopping mall. Like there was physical real estate that kids had to navigate to have interaction.
Yeah.
There was none of this, like, we couldn't FaceTime each other.
Yeah.
And we couldn't, you know what I mean? Like we just couldn't communicate in real time. So if you wanted to call your friend, you called the one phone in their house, their mother or father answered. You had to interact with the adult. Oh, hello, Mr. So-and-so. May I please speak with, whereas now the kids just text each other direct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it's so different.
Snapchat or something yeah.
Yeah. So when I think about things that are like low-hanging fruit for me to target, like when I hear younger people use words like adulting, all right, and like, well, what is that?
Like going to the grocery. I was adulting.
Yeah, I mean, like, you mean like surviving? Like that's what we would have called it. Like, oh, you put a roof over your head? Like, okay, that's great. Like that's, what am I missing here, right?
Yeah.
But it's, the same type of person who thinks of their side hustle as being proactive to ask their parents for money. Like that's the type of person that would use like the word
adulting.
Like, I'm so proud of myself.
Adulting.
Yeah. Okay. So what are, it'd be easy for me to spend hours making fun of like, your folks. But what are some things about my generation that you think that, that pendulum had probably swung too far in the other direction? Like what do you think that maybe we were not getting right or could have done better?
Okay, so there's a couple things. I do think, and I walk a very fine line when I say this, but your all's generation was very much like, suck it up, rub some dirt on it, right? Which is good to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Just like now, on the complete opposite spectrum, you have the gentle parenting, where it's like, oh, well, they have to do, no, like you have to find the happy medium. But I do think, like to the extreme, for your all's generation is like the tough love, the tough parenting. Like we don't talk about our feelings. Like you know what I mean? You just, and then on the opposite, it's like, no, like we need to make like from Mean Girls, she's like, we just need to bake a cake with sunshine and rainbows. Like, no, I mean, like, let's be real. Like, let's have some reality to it.
Yeah.
But I think that.
And no, that's fair. And context, of course, matters. And so, you're right, like rub some dirt on it. I remember being told, like when it came to like physical discomfort, it was suffer in silence.
Yeah.
If you are hot, if you are dirty, you suffer in silence.
Don't complain.
And I think that, fast forward years later when I'm living in a tent, by day and flying combat sorties by night, I kind of glad that I was able to embrace the attitude, embrace the suck. Like, what are you going to do about what? It will be of no benefit to whine about my living conditions. Mm-hmm. It will be of no benefit to whine, like, why does the Taliban keep trying to kill me? Yeah. But if, however, somebody is struggling because I was really close to my grandfather and he just died, man, don't tell that guy to rub some dirt on it, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so to some degree, we were a bit harsh. But on the other hand, it never dawned on me if I was the worst player on the worst team in Little League that I was supposed to get a trophy.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
oh, hey, you've got a pulse. Here's your participation ribbon.
Yeah, like everyone gets a round of applause. Like, no, because you don't in life.
And so my generation, ribbons came in 3 colors: blue, red, and white.
Yeah,
first, second, third.
Yeah.
Right. If you're in this, if there's 100 kids in the science fair, one kid is going to win, one's going to come in second, and one's going to get maybe some kind of honorable mention, and that's it.
Yeah.
The adults didn't feel compelled to bend over backwards to make sure that they can empower us to embrace our feelings and step into our power and be our authentic selves and live our truth. It's like, no, these are the winners. You all lost. Do better next time.
Yeah, work. Yeah.
And I don't feel like that I was being abused, like coming up in a system like that. Whereas now, like I'm trying to imagine like a scenario where I'm in a horrendous environment, planning a combat mission. It's a bad situation. And somebody says, this environment is like totally making me feel unsafe. And the only way I'm going to be able to manifest abundance is if I can go get my crystals. Like that, like that's not something that would have ever been said.
But it is something that is definitely said today in 2025.
Yeah. So again, we got some of it wrong.
Yeah.
To some degree. I think we're getting some of it wrong today.
Oh yeah. No, and that's
there's
what
a lack
saying.
of resilience that seems to be permeating like younger generations. Not all.
And again,
some are tough.
You and I are not like licensed psychologists. Like we don't have the correct answer of like what truly is right, what truly is wrong. This is our opinion. Like this is just kind of what, what we see and what we kind of think is to be true. Another thing I think, and not specifically you, I do think the differences in our generations, I think when it comes to working, I think your all's generation was more like get the job, keep the job, provide.
Yeah.
I do think our generation is better at, do I like the job? Is this, can I do this forever? Or, do I want to try something else? Like trying to find their place. Now that's like a catch-22 because sometimes it's like, well, you need to pay your bills. Like we don't have time for you to just be like, I'm trying to find myself. Like, but I do think that our generation has become more accustomed to, okay, I want to find something I like.
Yeah.
And I'll change it if I need to. Versus your generation, I think, was like, find that job, keep that job. If I hate that job, I'm going to work that job.
Yeah, that's right.
There weren't as many options, I feel like. Now with the internet and social media and just, more and more companies popping up and more different types of products, like there's more options.
Yeah. So, you've heard me for years talk about how we're so lucky that we live in a country with so many options that people who pursue it can find a career. They can find something, a vocation about which they have a lot of passion, in which they derive a lot of purpose and allows them to fulfill their potential. So passion, purpose, potential is such a noble pursuit. At the same time, food on the table, roof overhead, and even in jobs that we have an enormous amount of passion about, there's going to be pieces of it that we just don't like. And so I think that if there's a lack of patience and resilience, it's like, well, I don't 100% love everything about the nature of my job. Well, my generation, like, well, suck it up. Like, as you're finding your purpose, I'm curious, do we get lunch breaks? Like, these are kind of important things, for us. But again, I don't want anybody to think that like, no, drag yourself to a job for 40 years that you hate and make just enough, money to subsist. No, absolutely pursue it. But don't complain about the 10, 20, 30% though, that you just don't like. And certainly don't complain openly.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear that because.
Yeah, no one wants to hear a whiner.
No, it's a very unattractive, quality, and some people are better at it, than others. And again, it's not only one generation whines and one doesn't. There's whiners.
Whiners within both. Yeah, I mean, there's just whiny people out there in the world. It's always something's always wrong.
Yeah, and they have found an outlet because if they don't do it in person, they can go and drop these diatribes on their social media, like these long manifestos about, it's so unfair that I have to pay back my student loans that I willfully borrowed money. Like, well, again, my generation was of the mindset that if you borrow money, you pay it back. At no point did it involve a long post about how unfair the world is with a link to a GoFundMe page to bail me out of my decision. Like that was not anywhere part of like the ethos of like my time. Whereas a lot of people nowadays, I shouldn't say it. Let me rephrase that. Some people have had it pretty easy. They have been accustomed to people bending over backwards to make sure that always your feelings are primary.
And they probably have a lot of participation trophies in their room.
Yeah, probably. So I'm not sure how well that's working out. But.
Yeah. Okay, well, on the flip side, you asked me what are some differences that I see. What are some differences that you see with yours versus mine? Parents now and
that strata, like so parents and like of children, like then like those parents' friends seem much more comfortable being almost like friends with their kids. Like, when I was a kid, every parent in my life was Mr. and Mrs. somebody. So like all of my my friends' parents, like to the day they died, they were Mr. and Mrs. like so-and-so. They were never my friend.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's more of like this kind of hey buddy type of so that's a pretty big difference. There seemed to be more hierarchy in society when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Respect authority. Now, taken to the extreme, that can cause problems too.
Yeah.
Well, the soccer coach told me that I'm not supposed to tell my parents this. And so that there can create some real issues there. But the old like children should be seen and not heard. If I was throwing a fit at some get together that involved adults, the adults were not expected to tolerate that on my part.
Yeah.
My mom would deal with me, period, right? Whereas, it seems like some of that hierarchy has dissolved, for good or bad, and now they're almost treated like peers.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty stark difference. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think I agree. I definitely I see the difference in your generation, even like grandma and grandpa, and then ours. When the kids' friends come over, it's like, hey, Cassandra, can we, do this? Or they're more open to jokes and which I appreciate, because then it's like, they tell me the gossip, or like they keep me informed on what's going on. So it's like not as like, all right, let's sit down and have a conversation. Like, please tell me, your information, like try to get information out of like Adriana or something. So it's like a blessing and a curse.
Well, and
so it can kind of like go both ways, but
and so I think context is always important. But one other difference, and I think we've talked before about like corporal punishment, and I know that that's a taboo topic for some people. But I can count on one hand how many times like I was physically like spanked or smacked like as a kid. But as I've mentioned before, the threat of that was always on the table.
Yeah,
like that was always like hovering in the background.
Yeah.
And so, I remember the one time of the entire year that we went out to dinner, we went to a place called Bennigan's. And I was maybe like 7 years old. And, so we were dressed up, like we're going out to eat. Like this is a big deal for us on a tight budget. And the waitress came up and poured water into my glass. And my mom said, Shawn, say thank you. And I don't know where I would have heard this, but I responded as if I thought this was going to be funny. I thought this was going to get a laugh. I said, why? That's her job. And all I saw was this like beige flash coming around the table. And I see it come in my direction in my face. So I start to turn my head. And so between me turning and then the palm of my mother's hand slapping me on the face, I went down to the floor. And etched into my memory is this picture of me looking up, and the guy who was behind us, who had his back to us, he's got his spoon in one hand and he's like looking over his shoulder down at me on the floor, just got smacked out of my chair, and he just looks and then goes back to eating. So the idea that a woman smacked a kid so hard that people thought she smacked me by herself out of my chair. There's more to it than that. But the idea that just happened in front of like 50 people and everybody like, well, I'm sure he deserved it.
Yeah, I'm sure he did something wrong.
Whereas if that happened nowadays,
oh my gosh,
all the phones would come out.
Yeah, it would be all over
hey,
the
what's up,
internet.
Facebook fam? I'm here with the child abuser. Peace. And then like the cops would show up and all that. But when people say, well, what did that prove? Don't you think your mother could have pulled you aside and just given you a talk? And it's like, well, maybe, but I guarantee you, I have been real freaking polite to waitresses for the past 45 years. So the lesson took once. Right? I didn't know, don't smart off like that.
Oh,
and
man.
so again, that was one of like 5 times that, a mother or father, raised a hand to me, but I deserved it.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can be really good for you, I definitely think.
Accountability.
We've got
consequences. I'd rather suffer mild consequences at 7 then eventually society have to come down on top of me with really severe consequences later because I didn't learn those lessons, at an early age. So, all right. Well, I think we're probably running here out of time again. So, do you have any closing thoughts or comments before we call this one a wrap?
No, I mean, I definitely think, like I said, I think you said it great in the beginning, is that it's not like we are condemning one, right?
That's right.
So, I mean, there's bad people, there's annoying people, there's great people.
That's right.
Sprinkled throughout all of these generations. But definitely, I mean, there are some huge differences.
There's very much some differences that provides some real spice and variety, in the world in which we live. So,
for sure.
Until next time, you guys have a great week. We'll be back next Friday with our next episode. You guys take care.
We'll see you.
We hope that you enjoyed today's episode.
Yes, please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.
See you next time.